many projects that you've done that we have become huge fans of. I think it's one of those really important things as an actor to find out, do you watch your work?
Well, occasionally.
Okay.
I have a daughter.
Yes.
And she's now 19, and she had the painful experience the other day of actually having to watch another one of Daddy's movies. But she actually thought it was almost okay. By the way, it's a film that I shot in Oklahoma in 2016. It's called Star.
Yes.
And we were talking to the Archangel Raphael, right? Raphael. Yes. There's something sort of angelic about me, I always think.
We can see it. We can see
a little demonic, I suppose. Yes, so I have to mention that to excite all your appetites for going to the cinema and seeing it in Christmas time.
Yes. That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see it. When it comes to watching your movies, do you get to watch them with kind of a fan's eye, or are you critical of your performance?
I generally go watch my fellow actors and see whether my judgment is right. That was a wonderful performance. That was not so good, but that was interesting. He's one to watch. He's one to watch. I just pardon myself. I just ignore myself. Though sometimes it's been so long since I've seen it that it's really like a first-time experience. Yes. I was on that.
And always.
I saw myself doing I, Claudius on television in German. God, I was good.
Without question, that is an absolute. Which do you think that you would prefer to see yourself in, either a movie, a television series, or a stage play?
Well, seeing myself in a stage play, that would be a bit tricky, wouldn't it?
A little bit. But we do that now.
There's a very famous story about an old English actor who was rather known for his propensity for drink. There's a wonderful story where he went out to lunch and met up with one or two of his own actor friends, and they staggered into the theatre, blind drunk, and sat up in the gallery like that. And he said to his friends, and this is where I come in. The genetic experience of reading woman's. There's not a man in this room who really knows what a woman is thinking when she's got that face on. And the damnable thing is they think that if we love them, we've got to be mind readers as well. It's a positive thing, it's just treat us like sort of very educationally challenged youths and explain everything to us, you know. But that legacy that we have from those people in that cave, we think that human intelligence peaked around about 20,000 years ago, 22,000 years ago. These were people who actually lived right on the edge of extinction. If you got it wrong, and the family starved, that was it. You had to be clever, you had to be skilled in tool making, you had to be able to read the wind, the weather, the animals, foot, moving, everything. You had to be able to read that man that you came across when out hunting. And you looked at him and you thought, he's strong, he's got a fine weapon there. If we hunt together, we will probably treble our chances of getting a meal. But if I turn my back on him, will that big spear come out through my shoulders? Yes. We have learnt as men to read each other. But even so, We get it wrong. There are still con men who always take us. I've been taken 2 or 3 times by the most plausible, serious, decent chaps, just con men. One I knew actually had the misfortune to die about 7 months after I had met him. And as they were burying him, the FBI came in and opened the coffin to fingerprint him to make sure that he was really dead.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, before you continue, is that one of the plots of the movies that you're gonna make? Because I would watch that movie. If you make
the plot of my story called Ancestor is very simple. It's about a man who finds a new technology which enables people to hunt more efficiently than they had before.
Wow.
And that allows competing clans to spend more time together. And these are people who are really the first astronomers. Why? Because there was no artificial light other than fire with fire. Perhaps they made wax reeds and had them like that. Perhaps they made rushes. But really, they lay open at night and looked at the sky, and they saw millions and billions of shining objects, more than we've ever seen in our light-filled world. And they were wondering what it was all about. And they were asking questions. You need to know about seasons. You need to know, and it would be possible to track the movement of the sun from there. If I put 2 pebbles here, and draw a line there, and each day the sun rises in a different place. Then it stops there, and I can do that, and then it moves its way back. And the sun, when it's there, is the hottest. Now you can do that. You can even put a stick in the ground. You can tell from the shadow roughly where you are in terms of daylight. But when you do it with the moon, it's nonsense. You can't make any damn sense out of it. When you look at it, you see there are 3 important bodies here. There is the sun, the moon, and the earth. What?
In that parallel Earth story arc.
Fortunately, I didn't. I finally managed to get myself fired. Oh, God, it was so hard to do. Now, Hollywood, if you want to lead a show, they really want to hang on to you. They go, does he know something we don't?
Maybe he knows something.
Is the show going to be cancelled at the end of the season? Because I don't want to know about that. No. I mean, has he got something better to go to? They get very paranoid.
Of course.
But I'd actually been fired, and I was happily on my way out when I got to see the first Crowman show. And I wrote a lovely little note to it. I said, at last, when it's safe to say that there was no intelligence in the Sliders universe, at last, comes along an original script. Of course, knowing this series, the idea will be flogged to death. And it was.
It was an arc, it was a full arc, yes.
Anyway, but they were. Yes. Yes, I'm going to hit that down that one. I handled it the wrong way. It's just that you can go anywhere in space and anywhere in time. And the last thing you want is a director or producer saying, John, don't be hard on the writers. It's really hard to come up with ideas for a show like this. He did say some rude things about questioning why he was in show business.
It just speaks to your passion, though. And honestly, you saw this as a great opportunity in storytelling that I think, in your honest opinion, was kind of being squandered. I don't think that there's anything wrong with being critical of that.
Every week we would get a script from somebody at NYU or UCLA, and I would give it to our line producer, who's still a close friend of mine, and I would say, look at this. And he would read it, he would come back and say, John, there is not one word we need to change in this. We do not have a script for next week yet, but the writers will not allow anyone to put their nose in the trough. And that would have been fine. I mean, you understand that not all writers have endless fund of ideas. And it's very hard to survive if you're a man of limited ideas. And we respect that. And there's a great place for the man who actually can take somebody else's idea and puff it out and say, look, we developed this character in this way. That's an honorable thing. But when you've given an opportunity like this, that show could still be on the air. Could have been their Star Trek franchise. But they just didn't realize what a marvelous opportunity they had. And what a lovely cast.
Yes,
as well. Oh, by the way, apparently there is going to be, what did I say, apparently, I made it happen. There is going to be an original Sliders reunion.
What?
Salt Lake City, around about the 26th of September, that weekend. So any people who are Sliders fans, start saving your pennies.
Yes. Slide over there if you will. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
If anyone's got any damn good ideas about how we could revive that show at this time when there are no original ideas coming out of the studios, it would be, that show could be revived. Could be revived, and obviously the way to do it is to get the original four back together again.
Of course.
And very deliberately plotted. And dear Orlando, with this natural human instinct, just reached out because he thought I was going to fall off this little block. And he grabbed my beard. I grabbed his hand in a vice-like grip and snarled at him, "Not the beard!"
What I love about that is that was both like an amazing moment, but not acting at all. That was just you in truth. Get off the beard. What do you do?
Well, Peter Jackson, it was very difficult to use me because I was the tallest member of the fellowship. That's the logic of filmmaking, I'm afraid. So it would be very difficult for me to get down low enough to give them an eye line, I got this big costume on, I got that, the armor, and all that other stuff. So we used one or two of my stand-ins to do it. So at the end of the day, I would come in and then I would do all the lines separately, with them when they'd all gone home, which was fine. And Peter would insist on me doing exactly what he wanted in the scenes that he'd already shot. And then he would say, all right, now I'm cutting you loose. And I would start dancing. And every time I heard him giggle, I know that would be in the first cut anyway. But it was very fun for me. I mean, a really great director actually doesn't just dictate what he wants. He knows what he wants. He's cast perfectly. If any of you are going to be directors, let me tell you that casting is the most important thing. Well, first of all, you've got to have the great script. Yes. Next, you have to cast well. If you cast well, you will have solved 85–90% of your work. Getting the best out of your actors, particularly when they're young, is a real challenge for some directors. What I can say of Jackson is he was a master. But more than that, a film is not something that just flows from one brain, one idea, one person. If you've really done the job properly, there are other people who are bringing contributions in. And you go, yes, I can use that. No, can't use that. Stephen always used to say that to me. He'd say, great idea, wrong film. What am I turning down the other way? The Gimli certainly isn't. But he has that wonderful capacity that we all wish we had, apart from loyalty and bravery an absolute commitment to protecting the young and the small around him. He's also got a capacity to change his mind. I'll be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf. That xenophobia, that distrust, that anger, sort of metamorphoses and changes it, till you get right at the end where never thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf. How would I afraid? I could do that. The humor was necessary because the construction of Lord of the Rings is not filmic. Normally, film goes like that. That's the arc of the film. Right? Lord of the Rings, everything's nice. And then something odd happens. And then something really rather strange happens. And then something happens. It's not nice. And then there's a scuffle. And then there's a scrap. And then actually there's a bit of a fight. And then there's a real chase and the extermination of the world's civilization is at stake. And then there's a battle. And then it gets worse and worse. You can't make that work seriously all the time. When you have that level of tension, you have to break that tension just for us all to get up and breathe. And it was a very deliberate discussion that Peter and I and Fran all had together, that we would...
I mean, you could have played Sallah with such a intimidating factor, but you made him someone lovable and sweet, despite his kind of protective nature.
Well, an actor looks at the script and sees what is needed. This is a note for all you character actors here. You look at the script and you see how you can serve the script. And serve the script sometimes means serving your fellow actors. In Shogun, for instance, Richard Chamberlain, my dear and later much lamented Richard Chamberlain, had a problem. He was a passive hero. A passive hero cannot control the pace. And the pace was difficult anyway, because we were dealing with people talking in Japanese. And when people talk in a foreign language, actually you tune out, and you don't really drag, even if they're talking very quickly. So what he needed was to have somebody else move the pace along. And that's what I decided that character should do. He should come into a scene with twice the energy and almost over the top. A little bit less than over the top. And have power and energy and move the scene along so that Richard would have time just to underplay, just to do nothing but score with the eyes and the face and move and again. That's what he was a master of anyway. And the first day he did it, I did it. He looked at me very sharply, and then he went, "Yes, you get it." We need this energy. And that energy will then feed through for 2 or 3 scenes later on. So it helps the whole rhythm of the scene and helps your fellow actor tremendously. With Gimli, we're talking about Sallah. Well, the part was written for a 5'2" skinny Egyptian. I was in those days about 6½ an inch, and certainly, well, I wasn't going to use the word porcine, but I was a fair bit about what I could fly. Anyway, so when I met Stephen, I said, this is written for a 5'2" skinny Egyptian. I am not that. He said, oh, forget that. What I want is a combination of the character that you played in Shogun and Falstaff. Shakespeare's Falstaff. And that was an interesting idea. I managed to get rid of that very quickly. But you create something, you know. I mean, you've got Han Solo, who was doing his first really original big picture that he's going to carry by himself, right? And he's really the hero. How do you help the hero? And you do it by talking to him, by clearly thinking, and by using those moments in the script. It can be comedic. I mean, Minky, why does the floor move? You know? That's very dangerous. You go first. Yeah, and that's comedic, yes. But Sallah himself is very dignified character in his own way. And if you think about it, Sallah is the only popular Arab character in contemporary culture for the last 50 or 60 years. That's true. So he carries a lot with him. I just, it's very rare that you actually have that long-abiding, delight in an old memory. But I'm really rather sort of tired of doing other people's movies, so I decided, since I've written about 5 or 6 scripts, and I'm producing 1 or 2 little bits and bobs, that I now need to get a little bit of a move on and make my movies. Yes! So I'm going to try and go out and rattle the money tree, and see if I can get someone to put up some money for my movies. The core of them is this: that the human spirit is glorious, and our debt to each other and our debt to the past is enormous. I met somebody today whose name was Essex, a family called Essex. Are you here by chance? Oh, does it exist here? Where? Maybe? No? Right, that name, of course, attaches to a county, more particularly attaches to the Earls of Essex. Yes. All of you have a very interesting ancestry. And as a matter of fact, everyone in this room, we are all related if we go back actually only about 2,000 or 3,000 years. We all have relatives in common. But the point I'm making is this: we are here because of them. If we go back to the beginning of the Ice Age, 100,000 odd years ago, there were 5, possibly 6 species of human on the planet. There was Neanderthal. Was Habilis still around? Heidelbergensis, Denisovan, the Hobbits. some South Pacific island genes. It's clearly a different species. And at the end of the Ice Age, there's only us. You know, the rest die out. And presumably, we survive because inadvertently we selected for intelligence. If I correlate this place, that bird, those insects, that flowering, I have honey there to be found. And if I eat that honey, I may live long enough to reproduce, to pass on my genes. And this is an extraordinary thing. We actually inadvertently selected for intelligence. And when you select for intelligence, you select for a bigger brain. And when you select for a bigger brain, you select for a bigger skull to protect the brain. And that bigger skull has to pass through a birth canal. And that kills women. Up until the end of the Stone Age, you'll find male skeletons in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes even their 60s. You'll almost never find a woman over the age of 30. The life expectancy of a woman until the end of the Stone Age is 21 years.
Heroes that we can believe in, and we can aspire to, and cherish, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. Denver, I need you to join me in thanking Gimli. So much